Hi, I'm Ailbhe McDonagh. In this video, we will be discussing the tenor clef. So as cellists, we start off playing with the bass clef all the time as we play in the lower positions. Later, when we're much more advanced, we play a lot of treble clef also, which is much higher up on the fingerboard. So what is the tenor clef? Well, it's the clef that we use that bridges the gap between the bass clef and the treble clef. So the reason we use it is on the A string, as we go higher and higher on the bass clef, suddenly there are a lot of notes off the stave. When you see those little lines above the stave, they're called ledger lines. And the more you see, the harder it is to sight read. So the tenor clef makes it easier to read the music. So really, we only need to know the notes on the tenor clef from around maybe the F on the D string, going up to probably the D, that's up here in thumb position on the A string. So it's not as many notes to learn as the bass clef or the treble clef, where you need to know every single note. So a great way to do this is to use a clefs app. There are plenty of these, and it's sort of like a game. Can you guess this note on your phone? So they will put a note on the stave and you guess it. So of course you can do that away from the cello, and it's a great way to just see note recognition. The tenor clef itself, you can see the middle of the clef actually points to a line on the stave, and it points to the C. So you can see that is the fourth line up from the bottom of the stave. So that's a really important marker for us. It's also actually called a C clef, and that's because wherever the middle of the stave is denotes a C. So that C that you see straight on the tenor clef is our middle C here. So it's our second finger on the A string. So let's say we play the A. That in itself is just two notes below that middle C that the clef is showing in the middle of the clef. So the third line up from the base of the stave is your open A. So even when I'm starting the tenor clef, I would just think about the notes from that open A and get really familiar with them. Register that the middle line on the tenor clef is always going to be your open A string. Your B is going to be just the space above that. Your C, exactly in the center of that clef, so the fourth line up, and so on and so forth. But of course, the best way to get used to the tenor clef is to play a lot of pieces with tenor clef in the actual piece. So, for example, today I'm just going to talk about the Swan. We all know the Swan, and we also know how it sounds. So that's very helpful when you're playing pieces in the tenor clef. If you already have them on your ear, naturally your hand will know where to go. So we start off on the Swan, and this is how it sounds. So the best trick, when you're not familiar yet with all of the note names or how to read it, is to think about the piece being in the bass clef, okay? So I'm going to read this one as if it's in the bass clef. So it looks to me like a C. And I'm going to play it again in fourth position. I could play it here, but I'm going to play it in fourth position. So here we are. So it's funny, it sounds the same, but in order to have the starting note be a G, all you have to think about is you're going up 1/5 from the bass clef notes. So you just simply go straight across the string. Very simple. So I'm reading everything here in the Swan in that first line, just up 1/5. So I start, I see a C, B, E. Let's try that. Instead of on the D string, I'm going to go straight up to the A string and imagine I'm playing on the D string. So instead of having our C, B, E, we go up a fifth, and the notes are G, F sharp, and B. So the more you practice, the more you will register what the note names are. I'd highly urge you, as you are playing new pieces with Tenor Clef, to actually verbalize the notes out loudly. So you really register. Here we are in this one. G, F sharp, B, E, D, G. Here's our A. It's on the middle line. We know that one. B, C. So it does take a little bit of practice because we're so used to our bass clef. But I think you'll enjoy the tenor clef as you do more and more of it. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.